right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Temperatures today were much above average, but still we're well below average for the month. It's very cold. We've got a great piece of news for you as we head into the last week of the month, how warm it gets and when we'll finally see a good majority of the snow melted.
It was blazing, just blazing.
Dozens of people displaced after a devastating apartment fire. How people escaped when the flames engulfed their exit. Backlash against President Trump's latest measures on deportation.
Honestly, pretty scary. I mean, I can't imagine how everybody feels. They're scared, they're hiding.
I am fully supportive of President Trump's mandates and what he's about to do with America.
We hear from both sides of the issue at a local protest. But first, we begin with breaking news. The Major Case Squad has arrested 3 suspects in connection to the death of a Collinsville woman. Investigators say Portia Rowland was shot outside her home on Olive Street on Tuesday. They think it was a targeted attack. Tonight, the suspects have not been charged. We will, of course, keep you updated as soon as we learn more. Good evening, everyone. I'm Robert Townsend. Communities across the country are facing uncertainty as President Trump's deportation plans take shape. The U.S. Customs Enforcement Agency, also known as ICE, is ramping up arrests, and the Justice Department is threatening to prosecute state and local officials resisting the federal crackdown. The Trump administration has been praising law enforcement all week. The White House press secretary recently tweeting deportation flights have begun and warning if you enter the country illegally, you could face some serious consequences. Hundreds of National Guard members were sent down to the border in El Paso and San Diego to boost security. Now, officials at the border say deportations are on the rise.
I think you'll see the number increase, from hundreds to thousands of people getting deported on a daily basis. But once again, that doesn't just happen in a vacuum. You have to work with your foreign partners to make sure there's someone to receive on that end.
The Trump administration also has new policies in place to allow ICE to enter schools and churches. That has drawn national and local outrage. The first of possibly many local protests in response to the new ICE deportation measures was underway this afternoon. New tonight, Annie Krall was there hearing from people on both sides of this issue when it comes to immigration roundups. Annie.
Robert, as we hear both protests and support nationwide expanding for President Donald Trump's mandates come January, this conversation is getting the volume turned up in St. Louis. Though ICE hasn't confirmed any arrests or raids in our area, the legal changes are certainly leaving an impact.
Trauma and just living in fear.
On Saturday afternoon, dozens of people were protesting President Donald Trump's new mandates regarding illegal immigration and deportation practices.
We will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
Several organizers were Rittner High School students who said ramping up the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, mass deportations hit close to home for the local Hispanic community.
Children living with trauma and fear. Mothers being separated from their husbands and the father of their children. And, honestly, that can lead to children having attachment issues.
It feels pretty good to know that there's people out there that, they weren't here, but they believe what we believe in. There's a lot of, Hispanics around here in this area, a ton. And I don't know, it's so scary to, they can't send their children to school. They can't go to work themselves. They're too scared to go out to go buy groceries. It's getting really serious, and I just feel really terrible for them.
To be honest, I wasn't worried about it at all because I had heard that it was in California, Chicago, but they had given no warning here in St. Louis. So that's what really feared me. When I first had seen about the ICE reporting, the immigration picking up people and everything.
However, some people attended Saturday's protest in support of President Trump's latest measures.
We have to have legal immigration.
Like Michael Gomez, who lives in the St. Louis area and says he immigrated legally.
These people came here illegally. They just hopped the border. They shouldn't just get a reward to stay here. If they wanted to come here, they should have filed their paperwork just like everybody else, just like every legal immigrant that came here.
Another ICE deportation protest is scheduled for 1 p.m. on February 1st at Keener Plaza. We reached out to ICE directly via email as well as over the phone, but have continued to get a busy signal for the past several hours. We also contacted local politicians and the Missouri Republican Party to add their reactions to the protest, but have yet to hear back. Robert?
Andy, thanks a lot. New at 10, a man is in the hospital after a shooting just a few hours ago in North St. Louis County. Police were on the scene at Terrell Drive in Jennings around 5 this evening. Now, officers found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. He was taken to a hospital. Investigators say the victim was sitting in a car at the time of the shooting. Someone fired shots from outside the car and hit the man inside. No one else was hurt. Anyone with any information is asked to leave a tip to Crime Stoppers at 866-371-TIPS. The FBI has taken into custody one of the top 10 most wanted by their agency, and he's from our area. 60-year-old Donald Fields of Franklin County. You see his mugshot right there. He was accused of child sex trafficking and child rape in federal and state courts. He's been on the run for nearly 3 years now. Fields has been on the top 10 list since May of 2023. He was found after a routine traffic stop about an hour northwest of Orlando, Florida. Fields is scheduled to appear in federal court in Florida.
It was blazing, just blazing. People jumped out the window so they wouldn't catch on fire.
Tonight, nearly 40 people are without a home after a fire destroyed an apartment building in the Baden neighborhood. That's in North St. Louis. 4 people were hurt. 1 person was taken to the hospital in critical condition. St. Louis fire crews say the fire started this morning in the common area where there was minimal fire protection. Flames blasted windows out of the 2nd story of the building as the fire quickly spread to the stairs. Some people had to jump out of their windows.
The fire was so intense on the inside, it was actually into the stairwell, which is the same stairwell that the individuals would have had to use to get out of the building. So it was more or less you had to jump or, have a ladder, but we weren't here at the time they made that decision. So a good decision nonetheless, because that's what they needed to do to get to safety.
The Red Cross set up at the nearby Baden Library to help displaced families. Investigators have not determined what caused that fire. They tell us they still need to talk to one of the residents who was taken to a hospital. Well, it's been a warm day across the bi-state. Temperatures climbing all the way into the 50s this afternoon. Right now, if you step outside, I'm sure you'll see and feel that it's a little chilly, but overall not too bad. Meteorologist Gary Frank has the latest. Hi, Gary.
Yeah, good evening. As we look downtown, quiet conditions, and it's cold for sure, and we're going to start to see colder air settle in. Clouds still around with us here right now at this moment as you continue to look at clouds outside here. Over the next several hours, I do expect that temperature still holding steady right around freezing. Otherwise, low 30s for some of us right now. We've started to fall as a result of that cold front that's settled in, and into the rest of this evening, temperatures right around freezing, but just a light breeze will make it feel like it's in the upper 20s, but overall, it's not going to tank overnight. That's one positive for us. What we're going to see the next few days is we have one more cold day. That's tomorrow. Overall, we have 10 degrees above average or more each day. That's what we're headed for. And then we're going to remain dry till Friday. And then I think that things change by Friday. That's where we'll start to see our next rain chance. And it's rain. Yes, it's just rain. And we'll talk about the changes and how warm it is for it to be rain and how long we can get into that warm pattern to close the month.
A 16-year-old killed in a Jefferson County crash was laid to rest today. Herculaneum High School junior Madeline Robinson died after a car crash in DeSoto last Saturday. Missouri Highway Patrol says she was driving on Sunrise School Road with a 15-year-old girl in the passenger seat. The car went off the side of the road and overturned in an embankment. Robinson died at the scene. The passenger was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Community members and friends remembered Robinson at the Mon Funeral Home in this afternoon. A GoFundMe is set up to help her family. Now you can find a link in the As Seen on TV section of KSDK.com. 4 women reunited with their families in Israel. The ceasefire swap with Hamas that brought them home. President Trump signed a lot of executive orders, and now many are claiming he got rid of a cap on the price of insulin. Tonight, we verify.
Although it was warm today, it'll be a little cold tomorrow, but we're looking at this system potentially offshore west for our next rainmaker. When that arrives and how warm it gets in the interim.
4 Israeli soldiers, all women, are safe at home with their families tonight after an exchange between Israel and Hamas. Now, this is the second group of hostages to be released as part of the ceasefire agreement. In exchange, Israel released 200 Palestinian prisoners, some serving life sentences, others without charges. Many in Gaza celebrated their release. Tonight, more protests across Israel demanding the release of the rest of the hostages.
We look forward to having the backs of our troops and having your back in executing peace through strength, in putting America first.
This morning, Pete Hegseth was sworn in as Secretary of Defense. The ceremony was officiated by Vice President J.D. Vance. Hegseth was narrowly confirmed by the Senate with a tie-breaking vote from Vance. This marks the second time the VP had to cast a tie-breaking vote for a cabinet position. This comes as President Trump fired a dozen inspectors general for fraud, waste, and abuse. This move was criticized by members of both sides of the aisle. There's a lot of confusion about all the executive orders President Trump signed on his first day in office. Some online are claiming that one of Trump's executive orders got rid of the $35 monthly cap on insulin from the Biden era. Ariane Datel with the Verified team takes a look.
Millions of Americans have diabetes, and many of them need insulin to survive. But the price of the medication in the United States has historically been expensive for many. Amid a slew of executive orders signed by President Trump on the first day of his second term in office, people on social media claimed he ended the $35 cap on insulin prices. But is that true? Let's verify using these sources. On January 20th, President Trump signed executive orders ending some Biden directives that impact healthcare, including one intended to experiment with lowering prescription drug costs for people on Medicare and Medicaid. But those executive orders did not end the $35 monthly cap on insulin. Medicare's $35 insulin price cap was signed into law through the Inflation Reduction Act, which means it would take another law passed by Congress to change or get rid of the price cap. Private drug manufacturers have also capped the cost of their insulin. In 2023, Eli Lilly capped out-of-pocket costs for its insulin at $35 at participating pharmacies for people with commercial insurance. It also created a savings card for people without insurance to use to get its insulin for $35 a month. Since Eli Lilly is a private drug manufacturer, Trump would not be able to remove the company's voluntary price caps through an executive order. Nor would he likely want to, since he was responsible for instituting the $35 copay cap for some Medicare patients in 2020. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Datil.
What can we verify for you? Just send an email to verify@ksdk.com.
Temperatures right now continue to feel a little colder than the actual air temperature. It's in the mid-20s. The wind isn't as significant, but there's one more cold day before changes are on the way. We'll talk about how warm it gets over the next 7 days.
An ongoing bird flu epidemic is hitting the egg market extremely hard. The USDA estimates egg prices will go up another 20% this year. Last month, the average price for a dozen was $4.15. The bird flu has killed more than 17 million egg-laying hens in November and December alone. Now, that's nearly half of all birds killed by the virus last year. Just yesterday, bird flu was discovered at the Opal Foods facility in Neosho, Missouri. Nearly 3 million birds will be destroyed because of the virus. Well, turning now to weather. So nice to see a sunnier and warmer day today all across the St. Louis area. And if you're looking outside, you're following the weather forecast, you know, the long-range forecast, really not bad for January.
Well, it's been pretty cold. Yeah, I mean, it's been a really cold month for sure. Yeah, and we're feeling it, especially when we look at stuff like this, right? I mean, you got waterfalls outside. You got many spots here that have been, either melted or just anything. It's been freezing because we didn't get above freezing for a good majority of the month. And that was from our 5 on Your Side Weather Watchers Facebook page. So thanks so much for joining that. We have a lot of people that submit pictures like that. And right now, today was definitely an exception. It was one of the 6 days that stayed above average the entire month. 31 degrees. It's calm. We're at 50 today. Our average is 41. We're at least going warming up in an average sense where it's calm outside, but 25.8 degree average temperature so far in January. It's the 28th coldest start on record. So it's not just you or me. We are feeling it. It's cold outside and we need some thawing, especially at the end of the month. And so once we get past that hump of the fact that, you know, when you look at this map and I show her this thing, I show you 6 days have been above average and 4 days have been near average. The rest of them have all been below average. We got to 11 for a high on the 21st. Very cold conditions. And you'll look at the visible satellite, and that's one of the reasons we've had a hard time getting rid of that snowpack. You'll see that once, of course, as the sun sets. We don't have it quite as much anymore. I'm not sure tomorrow as I show you this, it's going to change a lot. But that's going to change a lot by Tuesday and Wednesday. Temps around freezing here, and they fall into the 20s overnight. Not plummeting. It's going to be cold in the morning, and by the afternoon tomorrow, you'll see that as this colder air to the north starts to filter in, we're not going to tap into anything crazy like this. We're still in the midst of warmer air that's going to at least hang around and return pretty quickly. I do think that we're going to be in the mid to upper 30s tomorrow with a little bit of sunshine. It's not fully sunny, but clouds are around. A light breeze is in store for us. I mentioned this system off to our west. And if you're watching golf or anything out to the west, and of course we've been talking about wildfires, there's the potential for some flash flooding around those burn scars. We also have wind that is impactful from this system, but this is a system that's going to affect us Friday and it's Saturday. So what are we talking about it now for? Let me show you why this is not moving quickly. Cold air here, warmer here, but watch how this system off to our southwest still sits here. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and finally works its way up. This is the main flow in the jet stream, and this is cut off from that. So it's going to take a while to get here, and as it does so, I think that gives us our next chance for some rain. The snow stays off to the northwest, and this is really not bringing a lot of cold air with it anyway. We're expecting rain Friday into Saturday. So for the next few days, you'll notice that we go from 37 tomorrow, but then the rest of the day is actually above average. So we're going to close out the month with a week straight after Sunday, of course, of temperatures above average. So that's going to be pretty nice, especially in the morning. We don't wake up quite as much. And it's just kind of a lighter jacket as opposed to bundle up like the kid from A Christmas Story the last few days.
A lot of folks will like the forecast. Gary, thanks. Corey, what's happening in sports?
Well, the Blues were hoping to channel some Hall of Famer vibes against the Stars, and a Mizzou duo had a game to remember against Ole Miss. Stick around. Sports is up next.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by Onder Law Injury Attorneys.
The Blues are in perhaps their most crucial stretch of the season. They have 7 games left until the Four Nations break. Every point counts in the race for the playoffs, and they won't come easy. 5 of those 7 games are against teams currently in a postseason position, including tonight's opponent, the Dallas Stars. New Blues Hall of Famers Wayne Babbage, Curtis Joseph, and the family of the late Jimmy Roberts dropped the puck, and Jordan Binghamton even rocked the Cujo mask pregame. Stars got on the board first, though. Evgeny Dadonov jams one past Jordan Bennington, 1-0 Dallas. Later in the first, Stars strike again. Issa Lindell converts on the power play, and it's 2-0 early. It would stay 2-0 the rest of the way. When the Blues can't convert on chances like these, it's probably going to be a pretty long night, and it was. Casey DeSmith stopped all 33 Blues shots as the Stars hand note their first shutout loss of the season.
You know, we got to look at a way we're going to start doing things differently. Like we have to, because can't start. We had a great crowd tonight. Our fans were ready to rock. I didn't think we were playing with the required amount of desire and passion that we should be showing at this time of the year, especially.
If the season ended today, ESPN's bracketology predicts 13 SEC teams would make the NCAA tournament. The SEC only has 16 teams in total. Moral of the story, every conference game for Mizzou is a battle, and tonight against Ole Miss was no different. The number 16 Rebels faced a sold-out crowd rooting on their Tigers, and those fans saw a two-man clinic. First, Tamar Bates, spin cycle, and the finish. Next, Caleb Grill, and when he's converting 4-point plays like this, you know how it's going to go. Back to Bates, he throws one down to close out the first half. Mizzou led by 7 at halftime, and those two just kept pouring it on in the second half. Grill loved that corner by the Tiger bench today. Here's 2 of his 6 threes. He had 22 points in all, only to be outdone by Bates, who had 26 points, including that 3 to ice it. Bates and Grill combined for 48 as Mizzou wins 83-75 to get another ranked win on the resume and stay undefeated at home. Here's Coach Gates on his duo.
They handle themselves and they lead in a way that I am very proud of. That's why they are both, and we're named captains. It was my expectation that they grew And they grew. It wasn't in between the lines that I wanted to push them. It was more so the part of being an extension of the coaching staff, being an extension of me.
SLU and Josh Schertz on the road against George Washington this morning. Bills were ice cold to start. Trey Autry going to hit a 3 in the corner, and George Washington has a 16-point lead at halftime. Billikens battle back, though. Kobe Johnson 3, 6-point game with 1:30 left. Gibson Jimerson off balance 3, 3-point game with 40 seconds left. SLU down 3, 20 seconds left. Isaiah Swope has a shot to tie it, but it's just off target. GW hits their free throws as they hand SLU a tough 67-61 loss. SIUE hosting OVC leading Morehead State today. The Cougars are right on their tails at the top of the conference. Little razzle-dazzle for SIUE to start things. Kyle Thomas finishes off that alley-oop. Cougar star Rayshawn Taylor was cold for much of this game, but he turned it on when it counted. That logo 3 gave SIUE a 6-point lead. This tough finish from Rayshawn kept SIUE at a 6-point lead. And then this wild 3 helped ice it. My goodness, what a shot. Taylor had 22 as SIUE gets arguably their biggest win of the season. 25 years ago, we weren't talking about divvying up Rams settlement money. We were watching our Rams make a run to a Super Bowl title, and Sunday you can relive some of that magic with Frank Cusimano on Sports Plus. It is our Rams anniversary special tomorrow night at 10:30. Right here on 5 on Your Side. Looking forward to that, Robert.
Yeah, you can bet a lot of sports fans will be checking it out.
Absolutely.
Corey, thanks. Gary's here with a final look at the weather.
Yeah, cold tomorrow. That's our last cold day as we continue to look at temps in the mid-30s for highs. Not all that bad, though, really. It's just kind of a normal winter day. And the rest of the week, we're going to see some actual appreciable thawing and melting over the next few days. I expect Tuesday and Wednesday to be a lot of the snow that's remaining will be gone by those days, and then will really be gone by next weekend.
I'm looking forward to the warm-up. Gary, thanks. That's it for 5 on Your Side at 10. But your local news and weather, of course, always streaming on 5+. Saturday Night Live is just ahead. Have a good evening, everyone.